Hello friends, welcome to Global Online University. Friends, I am Bahubali Desai. Friends, as you all know, we are providing you mock test series for your KSET examination, and this is our second mock test on for KSET examination. As usual, this mock test is also contains 50 questions for 100 marks. Okay friends, and to get all our 20 mock test series, you can enroll to our paid WhatsApp group, and all these 20 mock tests are available only at rupees 299. And friends, these 20 mock tests are different from these video mock tests. These 20 mock tests will provide through the Google Forms, where you will read the questions, and we can and after submitting your questions, we are able to see your score. Okay, then the link will be given in this WhatsApp group and also on the ವೆಬ್ಸೈಟ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ. ಓಕೆ ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ಸ್, ಈ 20 ಮಾಕ್ ಟೆಸ್ಟ್ ಸಿರೀಸ್ಗಳನ್ನು ನೀವು ಪಡೆಯಲು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೀಡಿರುವ ನಂಬರ್ಗೆ ನೀವು ಕಾಂಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡೋದ್ರ ಮೂಲಕ ಈ 20 ಮಾಕ್ ಟೆಸ್ಟ್ ಸಿರೀಸ್ಗಳನ್ನು ನೀವು ಪಡೀಬಹುದು. ಓಕೆ, ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಐ ಅಶ್ಯೂರ್ ಯು ದೀಸ್ 20 ಮಾಕ್ ಟೆಸ್ಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ರಿಯಲಿ ಬೂಸ್ಟ್ ಯುವರ್ ಪ್ರಿಪ್ರೇಷನ್. ಈ 20 ಮಾಕ್ ಟೆಸ್ಟ್ಗಳು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಸಿದ್ಧತೆಯನ್ನು ಹೆಚ್ಚಿಸಲು ತುಂಬ ಸಹಾಯಕಾರಿಯಾಗಿವೆ ಅಂತ ನಾನು ಬಯಸ್ತೀನಿ. ಓಕೆ, ಲೆಟ್ ಅಸ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಅವರ್ ಟುಡೇಸ್ ಕ್ವಶನ್ಸ್. A teacher can try to inculcate good values among students. His friends, the best way a teacher can try to inculcate good values among students is option A, storytelling; option B, by developing sense of discipline; option C, ideal behavior of teachers themselves; option D, to take their parents into confidence. Friends, if we are trying to inculcate good values in our students, first we have to inculcate a good behavior in ourselves, then only our students will follow us. So I think you got the answer. So the correct answer is ideal behavior of teacher themselves. So option C is the right answer. ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ಸ್, ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಉತ್ತಮ ಮೌಲ್ಯಗಳನ್ನು ಬೆಳೆಸಲು ಶಿಕ್ಷಕರು ಪ್ರಯತ್ನಿಸುವ ಉತ್ತಮ ಮಾರ್ಗವೆಂದರೆ ಏನು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು? ಶಿಕ್ಷಕರು ಮೊದಲು ಆದರ್ಶ ವರ್ತನೆಗಳನ್ನು ತಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ರೂಢಿಸಿಕೊಳ್ಳಬೇಕು. ಆವಾಗ ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳು ತಾನಾಗಿಯೇ ಟೀಚರನ್ನು ಫಾಲೋ ಮಾಡಿ ಉತ್ತಮ ಆದರ್ಶ ವರ್ತನೆಗಳನ್ನು ರೂಢಿಸಿಕೊಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಆದ್ದರಿಂದ ಆಪ್ಷನ್ ಸಿ ಸರಿಯಾದ ಉತ್ತರ. ಸೊ ಲೆಟ್ ಅಸ್ ಗೋ ಟು ದಿ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಕ್ವಶನ್. ಓಕೆ, ಹೂ ಅಮಂಗ್ ದ ಫಾಲೋವಿಂಗ್ ಈಸ್ ಡಿಸ್ಕ್ರೈಬ್ಡ್ ಆಸ್ ದ father of psychoanalysis? Who is the father of psychoanalysis? ಮನೋವಿಶ್ಲೇಷಣೆಯ ಪಿತಾಮಹ ಯಾರು? ಆಪ್ಷನ್ ಎ, ಎರಿಕ್ ಎಚ್ ಎರಿಕ್ಸನ್; ಆಪ್ಷನ್ ಬಿ, ಜೀನ್ ಪಿಯಾಗೆಟ್; ಆಪ್ಷನ್ ಸಿ, ಜೆರೋಮ್ ಬ್ರೂನರ್; ಆಪ್ಷನ್ ಡಿ, ಸಿಗ್ಮಂಡ್ ಫ್ರಾಯ್ಡ್. ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ಸ್, the father of psychoanalysis is, as you all know, Sigmund Freud is known as the father of psychoanalysis. ಸಿಗ್ಮಂಡ್ ಫ್ರಾಯ್ಡ್ ಅವರನ್ನು ನಾವು ಏನಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ? ಮನೋವಿಶ್ಲೇಷಣೆಯ ಪಿತಾಮಹ. ಓಕೆ, ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ರಿಮೆಂಬರ್ ದಿಸ್. ನೌ ದ ಓಕೆ, ವಿಲ್ ಸಿ some more information related to Sigmund Freud. Okay, Sigmund Freud, the period of Sigmund Freud is 1856 to 1939. Was the founding father of psychoanalysis. And what do you mean by psychoanalysis? It is a method of treating mental illness and also a theory to explain the human behavior. Okay, psychoanalysis, it is a method of treating mental illness and also a theory which explains about human behavior. Okay, I hope you got this. Let us go to the next question. Okay, which of the following teacher can identified with authoritarian teaching style? Okay, what do you mean by authoritarian teaching style? Where teacher is trying to maintain the dominance. Okay, option A, democratic teacher; option B, indirect teacher; option C, laissez-faire teacher; option C, direct instruction teacher. Friends, the correct answer is option D, direct instruction teacher. ಓಕೆ, ಆ ಕೆಳಗಿನ ಯಾವ ಶಿಕ್ಷಕರನ್ನ ಸರ್ವಾಧಿಕಾರಿ ಬೋಧನಾ ಶೈಲಿಯೊಂದಿಗೆ ಗುರುತಿಸಬಹುದು? ಸರಿಯಾದ ಉತ್ತರ ನೇರ ಸೂಚನಾ ಶಿಕ್ಷಕ. ಐ ಹೋಪ್ ಯು ಗಾಟ್ ದಿಸ್. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ the authoritarian teacher, okay, places firm limits and controls on the students. A teacher who is authoritarian teacher, he always try to maintain some discipline in the class. He always try to get control on his students, and students will have assigned seats for the entire term. Once the class has been started, the teacher has the students has to sit on their place only till the end of the class. Okay, then the desks are usually in straight rows. There are no deviations. Students must be in their seats only from beginning to end of the class. Then the teacher rarely gives hall passes or recognizes excused absences. Otherwise, in most of the situation, he is not going to give excuses. Okay, students know they should not interrupt the teacher. In authoritarian teaching level, students must not interrupt the teacher. Okay, since verbal exchange and discussion are discouraged, there is no more interactivity in the class. Then this teacher prepares vigorous discipline in the class. Then failure to obey the teacher usually results in detention or a trip to the principal's office. In this classroom, students need to follow directions and not to ask why. The students has to follow the rules and regulations given by the teacher, and they need not to ask why. So friends, let us go to the next question. Which process of communication is the best for controlling noise in the classroom? Option A, saying do not talk. Option B, raising one's voice above students' voice. Option C, remaining calm and just looking at the students. Option D, continue teaching without caring for noisy class. So friends, the correct answer is option C, remaining calm and just looking at the students. Okay, when you find noise in the class, more noise in the class, okay, just remain calm for few seconds or for 1 minute and just look at the students. They will be quiet. This is the best method to control noise in the classroom. Okay, ವರ್ಗ ಕೋಣೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಶಬ್ದವನ್ನು ನಿಯಂತ್ರಿಸಲು ಯಾವ ಸಂವಹನ ಪ್ರಕ್ರಿಯೆಯು ಉತ್ತಮವಾಗಿದೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, ಯಾವಾಗ ನೀವು ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ಒಂದು ಗದ್ದಲವನ್ನ ಕಾಣ್ತೀರಿ, ಯಾವಾಗ ನೀವು ಜಸ್ಟ್ ರಿಮೇನ್ ಕಾಮ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ಇದ್ದು ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳನ್ನ ನೋಡುವುದು. ಆಪ್ಷನ್ ಸಿ ಸರಿಯಾದ ಉತ್ತರ. ಸೊ ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ಸ್, ಅವರ್ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಕ್ವೆಶ್ಚನ್ ಇಸ್ diversity in a student demographics requires common academic standards to option A, provide a common benchmark for assessment. Option B, promote genuine learning for high performing students. Option C, ensure that all states have the same requirements as required by the central government. Option D, none of the above. Friends, the correct answer is option A, provide a ಕಾಮನ್ ಬೆಂಚ್ ಮಾರ್ಕ್ ಫಾರ್ ಅಸೆಸ್ಮೆಂಟ್. ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳ ಜನಸಂಖ್ಯಾಶಾಸ್ತ್ರದಲ್ಲಿ ವೈವಿಧ್ಯತೆಗೆ ಸಾಮಾನ್ಯ ಶೈಕ್ಷಣಿಕ ಮಾನದಂಡಗಳು ಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತವೆ. ಯಾವುದಕ್ಕೆ? ಮೌಲ್ಯಮಾಪನಕ್ಕಾಗಿ ಸಾಮಾನ್ಯ ಮಾನದಂಡವನ್ನು ಒದಗಿಸಲು. Random sampling. The units are selected. Option A, after dividing the population in different groups on the basis of specific standard and then taking an equal proportion of units from each group. Option B, after disassociating the population in different groups on the basis of specific standard and then the units are selected from these groups. Option C, after dividing the population in different strata then selecting any one strata out of them. Option D, none of the above. Friends, what do we mean by stratified sampling method? Okay, here let us go to the answer. Here the correct answer is option A. Here first a researcher is going to divide the population in different groups on the basis of specific standard, and then taking an equal proportion of units from each group. First, he will divide the population into different groups and on the basis of specific standard, and then he will take equal proportion of units from each group. Is known as the stratified random sampling or stratified sampling ಮೆಥಡ್. ಶ್ರೇಣೀಕೃತ ಮಾದರಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಘಟಕಗಳನ್ನು ಆಯ್ಕೆ ಮಾಡಲಾಗುತ್ತದೆ. ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ಸ್, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಸರಿಯಾದ ಉತ್ತರಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗೋಣ ನೇರವಾಗಿ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಸರಿಯಾದ ಉತ್ತರ ಆಪ್ಷನ್ ಎ. ನಿರ್ದಿಷ್ಟ ಮಾನದಂಡದ ಆಧಾರದ ಮೇಲೆ ಜನಸಂಖ್ಯೆಯನ್ನು ವಿವಿಧ ಗುಂಪುಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ವಿಂಗಡಿಸಿದ ನಂತರ ಪ್ರತಿ ಗುಂಪಿನಿಂದ ಸಮಾನ ಪ್ರಮಾಣದ ಘಟಕಗಳನ್ನು ತೆಗೆದುಕೊಡುವುದು. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ ರಿಸರ್ಚರ್ ಒಬ್ಬ, ಮೊದಲು ಅಲ್ಲಿರುವ ಪಾಪ್ಯುಲೇಷನ್ ಅನ್ನ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಗುಂಪುಗಳಾಗಿ ವಿಂಗಡಿಸಿ ಆ ನಂತರ ಪ್ರತಿ ಗುಂಪಿನಿಂದ ಎರಡೆರಡು ಜನ ಅಥವಾ ನಾಲ್ಕು ಜನ ಈ ರೀತಿ ಸಮ ಪ್ರಮಾಣದ ಘಟಕಗಳನ್ನ ತೆಗೆದುಕೊಳ್ಳುತ್ತಾನೆ. ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಏನಂತೀವಿ ನಾವು ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಟಿಫೈಡ್ ಸ್ಯಾಂಪ್ಲಿಂಗ್ ಮೆಥಡ್. ಐ ಹೋಪ್ ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ಸ್ ಯು ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟುಡ್ ದಿಸ್. ಇಫ್ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಎನಿ ಕನ್ಫ್ಯೂಷನ್, if you want to improve my videos, and you can suggest me in the comment box. Friends, ನನಗೆ ನೀವು ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ಆದಷ್ಟು ಪ್ರಯತ್ನವನ್ನು ಪಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ನನ್ನ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ತಿಳಿತಾ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ನಾನು ಭಾವಿಸಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಇನ್ನೂ ಏನಾದರೂ ಇಂಪ್ರೂವ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದರೆ ನೀವು ಕಮೆಂಟ್ ಬಾಕ್ಸ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ನನಗೆ ಸಜೆಷನ್ನ ನೀಡಿ. ಐ ಆಮ್ ವೆರಿ ಹ್ಯಾಪಿ ಟು ಅಕ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ದಿ ಸಜೆಷನ್ಸ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಯು. ನನಗೆ ನಿಮ್ಮಿಂದ ಸಲಹೆಗಳನ್ನ ಪಡೆದುಕೊಳ್ಳಲು ತುಂಬ ಖುಷಿ ಅನ್ನಿಸ್ತದೆ. ಓಕೆ ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ಸ್, stratified sampling is a method of sampling from a population which can be divided into subpopulations in statistical surveys. Then subpopulations within an overall population vary. It could be advantageous to sample each subpopulation is independently. Adhe friends, I explained you in the previous slide only. Here the researcher is going to divide the population into different groups, and from each groups the units will be taken. From each group same number of units, same number of people will be taken for the research. Is known as the stratified sampling method. ಓಕೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಒಬ್ಬ ರಿಸರ್ಚರ್ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾನೆ, ಮೊದಲು ನೀಡಿರುವ ಜನಸಂಖ್ಯೆಯನ್ನು ವಿವಿಧ ಗುಂಪುಗಳಾಗಿ ವಿಂಗಡಿಸಿ ಆ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ಗುಂಪಿನಿಂದ ಇಂತಿಷ್ಟು ಪ್ರಮಾಣದ ಜನರನ್ನು ತನ್ನ ರಿಸರ್ಚ್ಗೆ ತೆಗೆದುಕೊಳ್ಳುತ್ತಾನೆ. ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಟಿಫೈಡ್ ಸ್ಯಾಂಪ್ಲಿಂಗ್ ಮೆಥಡ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಸೊ ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ಸ್, ಲೆಟ್ ಅಸ್ ಗೋ ಟು ದಿ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಕ್ವಶನ್. Research that is done to examine the findings of someone else using the same variables but different people is which of the following? Friends, research that is done to examine the findings of someone else using the same variables but different people is which of the following? Option A, exploration. Option B, hypothesis. Option C, replication. Option D, empiricism. Friends, it is known as the replication. So option C, replication is the correct answer. ಒಂದೇ ಅಸ್ಥಿರ ಆದರೆ ವಿಭಿನ್ನ ಜನರನ್ನು ಬಳಸಿಕೊಂಡು ಬೇರೊಬ್ಬರ ಆವಿಷ್ಕಾರಗಳನ್ನ ಪರೀಕ್ಷಿಸಲು ನಡೆಸಿದ ಸಂಶೋಧನೆಗೆ ಈ ಕೆಳಗಿನವುಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವುದು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಪುನರಾವರ್ತನೆ, ರೆಪ್ಲಿಕೇಶನ್ ಅನ್ನೋ ವರ್ಡನ್ನು ಇಂಗ್ಲೀಷ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ನೆನಪಿಡಬೇಕೆಲ್ಲರೂ. ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಏನಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ ನಾವು? ರೆಪ್ಲಿಕೇಶನ್. Okay friends, replication is a term referring to the repetition of a research study, generally with different situations and different subjects, to determine if the basic findings of the original study can be applied to other participants and circumstances. I hope you got this. Replication means it is a repetition of a research study. Someone has already done the research on that topic. Once again we are going to do the research on the same topic just to determine the basic findings of the original study. Okay, so friends, I hope you understand this. Our next question is a statement that predicts the cause and effect relationship between variables is known as the option A, null hypothesis. Option B, experimental hypothesis. Option C, independent variable. Option D, dependent variable. Friends, a statement that predicts the cause and effect relationship between variables is known as the option B, experimental ಹೈಪೋಥೆಸಿಸ್. ಅಸ್ಥಿರಗಳ ನಡುವಿನ ಕಾರಣ ಮತ್ತು ಪರಿಣಾಮ ಸಂಬಂಧವನ್ನ ಪ್ರೆಡಿಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡುವ ಹೇಳಿಕೆಯನ್ನು ನಾವು ಏನಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ? ಪ್ರಾಯೋಗಿಕ ಕಲ್ಪನೆ, ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆರಿಮೆಂಟಲ್ hypothesis. Then friends, okay, our next question is, we use factor analysis. Option A, to know the relationship between two variables. Option B, to test the hypothesis. Option B, C, to know the difference between two variables. Option D, to know the difference among many variables. Friends, we use factor analysis to know the differences between many variables. ಓಕೆ ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ಸ್, ನಾವು ಅಂಶ ವಿಶ್ಲೇಷಣೆಯನ್ನು ಯಾವಾಗ ಬಳಸ್ತೀವಿ? ಅನೇಕ ವೇರಿಯೇಬಲ್ಸ್ಗಳ ನಡುವಿನ ವ್ಯತ್ಯಾಸವನ್ನು ತಿಳಿದುಕೊಳ್ಳಲು. ಓಕೆ, ದೆನ್ ವಾಟ್ ಡು ಮೀನ್ ಬೈ ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಅನಲೈಸಿಸ್? Factor analysis, it is a statistical method used to describe variability among observed correlated variables in terms of a potentially lower number of unobserved variables called factors. Okay friends, this is about factor analysis. To find the relationship between many variables, we use the factor analysis. Okay friends, let us go to the next question. Manipulation is always a part of, okay, option A, historical research. Option B, fundamental research. Option C, descriptive research. Option D, experimental research. Friends, manipulation is always a part of experimental research. ಕುಶಲತೆಯು ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ಯಾವುದರ ಭಾಗವಾಗಿದೆ? ಅದು ಪ್ರಾಯೋಗಿಕ ಸಂಶೋಧನೆಯ ಒಂದು ಭಾಗವಾಗಿದೆ. So friends, let us see the next question. Okay, an operational definition is, option A, no relation to the underlying concept. Option B, an abstract theoretical definition of a concept. Option C, in terms of specific empirical measures. Option D, none of the above. Friends, an operational definition is in terms of specific empirical measures. ಕಾರ್ಯಾಚರಣೆಯ ವ್ಯಾಖ್ಯಾನವು ನಿರ್ದಿಷ್ಟ ಪ್ರಾಯೋಗಿಕ ಕ್ರಮಗಳ ವಿಷಯದಲ್ಲಿ. So option C is the correct answer. So friends, let us move to the next question. What is the purpose of the conclusion in a research report? Option A, it explains how concepts were operationally defined and measured. Option B, it summarizes the key findings in relation to the research questions. Option C, it contains a useful review of the relevant literature. Option D, it outlines the methodological procedures that were employed. Friends, what the purpose of conclusion in a research report is? What conclusion will do? It will summarize the key findings in relation to the research question. So it is the main purpose of conclusion is summarizing the key findings in relation to research question. So option B is the correct answer. ಸಂಶೋಧನಾ ವರದಿಯಲ್ಲಿನ ತೀರ್ಮಾನದ ಉದ್ದೇಶ ಏನು? ಸಂಶೋಧನೆಯ ವರದಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಕನ್ಕ್ಲೂಷನ್ನ ಉದ್ದೇಶ ಏನಾಗಿರ್ತದೆ? ಇದು ಸಂಶೋಧನಾ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳಿಗೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಿಸಿದಂತೆ ಪ್ರಮುಖ ಆವಿಷ್ಕಾರಗಳನ್ನು ಸಂಕ್ಷಿಪ್ತಗೊಳಿಸುತ್ತದೆ. ಸೊ ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ಸ್, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಸರಿಯಾದ ಉತ್ತರ ಏನಾಗಿದೆ? ಆಪ್ಷನ್ ಬಿ ಸರಿಯಾದ ಉತ್ತರ. ಇಟ್ ಸಮರೈಸಸ್ ದಿ ಕೀ ಫೈಂಡಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ ರಿಲೇಷನ್ ಟು ದಿ research question. So moving on to the next question. Extraneous variables are essentially, option A, independent variables. Option B, dependent variables. Option C, independent or dependent. Option D, neither independent nor dependent. Friends, the correct answer is option A, independent variables. Extraneous variables are essentially independent variables. ಬಾಹ್ಯ ಅಸ್ಥಿರಗಳು ಮೂಲತಃವಾಗಿ, ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ಸ್, ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಾನಿಯಸ್ ವೇರಿಯೇಬಲ್ಸ್ ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ಅವು ಇಂಡಿಪೆಂಡೆಂಟ್ ವೇರಿಯೇಬಲ್, ಸ್ವತಂತ್ರ ಅಸ್ಥಿರ. ಪ್ಲೀಸ್ ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ಸ್, ಈ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆನ ನೀವು ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ನೆನಪಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಇಡಬೇಕು. ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಾನಿಯಸ್ ವೇರಿಯೇಬಲ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಎಸೆನ್ಷಿಯಲಿ independent variables. Please remember this. Okay, moving on to the next question. Okay friends, extraneous variables are all variables which are not the independent variable but could affect the results of the experiment. The researcher wants to make sure that it is the manipulation of the independent variable that has an effect on the dependent variable. I hope you got this. Extraneous variables which are not the part of independent variable, but even though it will affect the results of the experiment, is known as the extraneous variable. So friends, moving on to the next question. Which of the following is most likely to make use of the internet? Option A, web conference. Option B, seminar. Option C, symposium. Option D, none of the above. Friends, very easy level of question. Where do we use internet? When we are using web conference. So option A is the right answer. No need to explain. I think ಕೆಳಗಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವುದು ಇಂಟರ್ನೆಟ್ ಅನ್ನು ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಬಳಸ್ತದೆ ಅದು ವೆಬ್ ಕಾನ್ಫರೆನ್ಸ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೆಮಿನಾರ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಸಿಂಪೋಸಿಯಂನಲ್ಲಿ ನಮಗೆ ಇಂಟರ್ನೆಟ್ನ ಅವಶ್ಯಕತೆ ಇರೋದಿಲ್ಲ. So friends, no need to give explanation for this question, but even though I have written something, a web conference may be used as an umbrella term for various types of online collaborative services including webinars, webcasts and peer level web meetings. Okay, I hope you know the meaning of web conference, and due to COVID-19 I hope you have watched many web conference, you have done many web conferences also. Okay, let us go. Goal of perception checking is option A, confirmation. Option B, cultural sensitivity. Option C, to further explore the thoughts and feelings of others. Option D, control. Friends, the goal of perception is to further explore the thoughts and feelings of others. ಗ್ರಹಿಕೆ ಪರಿಶೀಲನೆಯ ಮುಖ್ಯ ಗುರಿ ಯಾವುದು? ಇತರರ ಆಲೋಚನೆಗಳು ಮತ್ತು ಭಾವನೆಗಳನ್ನು ಮತ್ತಷ್ಟು ಅನ್ವೇಷಣೆಗೊಳಿಸುವುದು. ಸೊ ಆಪ್ಷನ್ ಸಿ ಸರಿಯಾದ ಉತ್ತರ. ಸೊ ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ಸ್, I hope you will remember all these points. Now the next question is communication between two or more people is called option A, organizational communication. Option B, intrapersonal communication. Option C, extrapersonal communication. Option D, intrapersonal communication. Sorry, option B is the interpersonal communication. Option D is intrapersonal communication. ಎರಡು ಅಥವಾ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ಜನರ ನಡುವಿನ ಸಂವಹನವನ್ನು ಎಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ? Interpersonal communication. So option B, interpersonal communication is the correct answer. When communication takes place between two or more people is known as the interpersonal communication. Friends, here you can see interpersonal communication is the process by which people exchange information, feelings, meanings through verbally or non-verbally between two or more people, and it is, remember friends, it is a face-to-face communication. Okay, this is the process of communication. Sender, receiver, message from sender to receiver, again from receiver to sender, feedback. Okay friends, when we receive feedback it is known as the circular communication. Please remember this also. Okay, now we'll move to the next question. Movements of the face that convey emotional meanings are called option A, displays. Option B, emblems. Option C, eye contact. Option D, none of the above. Friends, here the right answer is option A, displays. Movements of the face that convey emotional meanings are called displays. ಭಾವನಾತ್ಮಕ ಅರ್ಥಗಳನ್ನು ತಿಳಿಸುವ ಮೂಲಕ ಮುಖದ ಚಲನೆಗಳನ್ನು ನಾವೇನಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ? ಡಿಸ್ಪ್ಲೇಸ್. I hope you will remember this. Friends, please remember all these things. Okay, from anywhere you can get questions. Okay, to answer those questions, this type of basic knowledge is very essential, and you should also know how to answer, how to understand the question. So I am discussing daily MCQs for you. So friends, let us move to the next question. And here you can see displays are the verbal or non-verbal. Please remember this, displays may be verbal or also non-verbal of affect or emotion. These displays can be through facial expression, gestures and body language, volume, tone of voice, laughing, crying, etc. Okay, Now the next question is, a disruption in the communication process is called option A transgression, option B feedback, option C noise, option D interaction. Friends, disruption in the communication process is known as the noise. Noise means anything which will disrupt the communication is known as the noise in the communication. ಸಂವಹನದ ಪ್ರಕ್ರಿಯೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅಡ್ಡಿ ಎಂದು ಯಾವುದನ್ನು ಕರಿತೀವಿ? ನಾಯ್ಸ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಶಬ್ದ. ಓಕೆ, ಸಂವಹನದಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವುದೇ ಅಡೆತಡೆಯನ್ನು ನಾವು ನಾಯ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಸೊ ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ಸ್, ಅವರ್ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಈಸ್, people who engage in frank and open expression of their feelings are considered option A aggressive, option B rude, option C assertive, option D inconsiderate. Friends, people who engage in frank and open expression of their feelings, they are considered as option C assertive. So option C assertive is the right answer. ತಮ್ಮ ಭಾವನೆಗಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಸ್ಪಷ್ಟ ಮತ್ತು ಮುಕ್ತ ಅಭಿವ್ಯಕ್ತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ತೊಡಗಿರುವ ಜನರನ್ನು ನಾವೇನಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ? ಸಮರ್ಥ. ಗ್ರೀನ್ ಹೌಸ್ ಗ್ಯಾಸಸ್ ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವಿಂಗ್ ಸ್ಯಾಟಲೈಟ್ GOSAT, also known as Ibuki, was launched by. Friends, GOSAT, greenhouse gases observing satellite, it is also known as the Ibuki. It is launched by each country. Option A USA, option B Japan, option C South Korea, option D China. Friends, here the correct answer is Japan. Ibuki was launched by the Japan. ಹಸಿರು ಮನೆ ಅನಿಲಗಳು ಉಪಗ್ರಹ ಅಥವಾ ಗೋಸಾಟ್ ಅನ್ನ ಇಬುಕಿ ಎಂದು ಕರೀತಾರೆ. ಇದನ್ನು ಯಾವ ದೇಶ ಲಾಂಚ್ ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಜಪಾನ್ ದೇಶ. And friends, the greenhouse gases observing satellite or GOSAT, also known as Ibuki, it is an earth observation satellite. Please remember this, friends. Ibuki is an earth observation satellite, and it is the world's first satellite dedicated to greenhouse gas monitoring. And friends, it measures the densities of carbon dioxide and methane from 56,000 stations, and it was developed by the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency. Please remember all these points, and it was launched on 23 January 2009. Okay, GOSAT is an earth observing satellite. It is dedicated to greenhouse gases monitoring. It measures the densities of CO2 and methane from 56,000 locations. It was developed by the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, and it was launched on 23 January 2009. Okay friends, GOSAT ಅನ್ನ ಜಪಾನ್ ದೇಶ 2009 ಜನವರಿದಂದು ಲಾಂಚ್ ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ. ಸೊ ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ಸ್, ಅವರ್ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಈಸ್, the logo of WWF is option A giant panda, option B lion, option C tiger, and option D none of the above. Friends, WWF ನ ಒಂದು ಲೋಗೋ ಆಪ್ಷನ್ ಎ ದೈತ್ಯ ಪಾಂಡಾ, ಆಪ್ಷನ್ ಬಿ ಸಿಂಹ, ಆಪ್ಷನ್ ಸಿ ಹುಲಿ, ಆಪ್ಷನ್ ಡಿ ಯಾವುದು ಅಲ್ಲ. ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ಸ್, ದ ಲೋಗೋ ಆಫ್ ದ WWF is giant panda, ದೈತ್ಯ ಪಾಂಡಾ ಅಂತೀವಿ. giant panda is the logo of WWF. And friends, here you can observe the logo of WWF, and the WWF stands for World Wide Fund for Nature. Okay, it is an international non-governmental organization, and WWF was founded in 1961, and it is working in the field of wilderness preservation and the reduction of human impact on the environment. Okay, it wants to reduce the human impact on the environment, and the main aim of WWF is stop the degradation of the planet's natural environment and to build a future in which humans live in harmony with nature. Please remember all these points. Okay friends, our next question is, Baba Amte was the leader of option A Appiko movement, option B Chipko movement, option C Narmada Bachao Andolan, option D Tehri Dam. Friends, Baba Amte was the leader of Narmada Bachao Andolan. Baba Amte Narmada Bachao Andolan the Nayakaragiದ್ರು. Okay friends, Narmada Bachao Andolan is an Indian social movement spearheaded by the tribals, farmers, environmentalists and human rights activists. And friends, Narmada river flows through the states of Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh and Maharashtra. Okay, and Baba Amte known for his work against leprosy. He published a book in the year of 1989. The name of the book is Cry O Beloved Narmada, against the construction of the dam. So he was the leader of Narmada Bachao Andolan. And other personalities related to Narmada Bachao Andolan are Medha Patkar, Arundhati Roy, Amir Khan, Rahul Ram, Alok Agarwal and Nitish Kumar. Okay friends, please remember all these points. Our next question is, which of the following is considered as the best quality of a coal? Option A P8, option B lignite, option C bituminous, option D anthracite. Friends, these are the types of coal and which is the best quality. Anthracite is the best quality of coal. ಕೆಳಗಿನವುಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಕಲ್ಲಿದ್ದಲಿನ ಉತ್ತಮ ಗುಣಮಟ್ಟ ಯಾವುದು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ anthracite. Okay, we'll see some more information in the next slide. Okay, the types of coal are P8, lignite, bituminous and anthracite. Okay, these are differentiated by the carbon content. In P8 the carbon content is 50 to 60%. And friends, P8 under of temperature and pressure it may convert into other types also, or lignite, bituminous and anthracite. And friends, coming to the lignite, here the carbon content is 70% and here it is high moisture content, and lignite is known as the brown coal. Bituminous, here the carbon content is 80% and bituminous is known as the soft coal. And anthracite, the carbon content is 90 to 95%. It is known as the best quality of a coal. Friends, it means if the carbon content is more in the coal, then it is best quality of a coal, that is anthracite. So friends, let us see the next question. Which of the following is a method to prevent flood? Okay, to prevent flood, which is the method? Okay, option A levees, option B winding mills, option C efficient sewage systems, option D all of the above. Friends, levees, winding streams, efficient sewage system, these are all methods of preventing flood. So option D is the correct answer, all of the above. ಕೆಳಗಿನವುಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರವಾಹವನ್ನು ತಡೆಗಟ್ಟುವ ವಿಧಾನ ಯಾವುದು? ಆಪ್ಷನ್ ಎ ಲೇವೀಸ್, ಆಪ್ಷನ್ ಬಿ ಅಂಕುಡೊಂಕಾದ ಹೊಳೆಗಳು, ಆಪ್ಷನ್ ಸಿ ಸಮರ್ಥ ಒಳಚರಂಡಿ ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆ, ಮೇಲೆಲ್ಲ. ಇವೆಲ್ಲವೂ ಕೂಡ ಪ್ರವಾಹವನ್ನು ತಡೆಗಟ್ಟುವ ವಿಧಾನಗಳಾಗಿರುವುದರಿಂದ ಆಪ್ಷನ್ ಡಿ ಮೇಲಿನ ಎಲ್ಲ ಸರಿಯಾದ ಉತ್ತರ. ಸೊ ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ಸ್, ಅವರ್ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಈಸ್, which national park is situated at the highest altitude in the country? Option A Corbett National Park, option B Hemis National Park, option C Silent Valley National Park, option D Dachigam National Park. Here friends, the right answer is option B Hemis National Park is situated at the highest altitude in the country. ದೇಶದಲ್ಲಿ ಅತಿ ಎತ್ತರದಲ್ಲಿರೋ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯ ಉದ್ಯಾನ ಯಾವುದು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಅದು ಹೇಮಿಸ್ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯ ಉದ್ಯಾನ. Okay friends, Hemis National Park, it is a high altitude national park in the eastern Ladakh. Please remember, and Hemis National Park is globally famous for snow leopards. Okay, it is globally famous for snow leopards. Then it is the only national park in India that is north of Himalayas. and it is also the largest notified protected area in India. Okay, and also second largest protected area, the first one is Nanda Devi Biosphere Reserve. Please remember this, friends. Okay, please remember all these points. Let us go to the next question. The most efficient method of biodegradable urban solid waste management is option A landfills, option B pelletization, option C gasification, option D composting. Friends, the correct answer is option D composting. It is the efficient method of urban solid waste management. ಜೈವಿಕ ವಿಘಟನೀಯ ನಗರ ಘನತ್ಯಾಜ್ಯ ನಿರ್ವಹಣೆಯ ಒಂದು ಪರಿಣಾಮಕಾರಿ ವಿಧಾನ ಯಾವುದು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಅದು ಮಿಶ್ರ ಗೊಬ್ಬರ. ನೆನಪಿನಲ್ಲಿಡಬೇಕು. ಅದೇ ರೀತಿ ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ಸ್, ಲೆಟ್ ಅಸ್ ಗೋ ಟು ದಿ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಕ್ವಶನ್. ದಿ ಸಾಗರ್ ಮಾತಾ ನ್ಯಾಷನಲ್ ಪಾರ್ಕ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಬೀನ್ ಎಸ್ಟಾಬ್ಲಿಷ್ಡ್ ಟು ಪ್ರಿಸರ್ವ್ ದಿ ಎಕೋಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಆಫ್ ವಿಚ್ ಮೌಂಟೇನ್ ಪೀಕ್? Option A Kanchanjunga, option B Mount Everest, option C Annapurna, option D Dhulvira. Friends, the right answer is Mount Everest. The Sagarmatha National Park established to preserve the ecosystem of Mount Everest. Okay, ಯಾವ ಪರ್ವತ ಶಿಖರ ಪರಿಸರ ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆಯನ್ನು ಸಂರಕ್ಷಿಸಲು ಸಾಗರ್ ಮಾತಾ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯ ಉದ್ಯಾನವನ್ನು ಸ್ಥಾಪಿಸಲಾಗಿದೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಅದು ಮೌಂಟ್ ಎವರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಪರ್ವತ. And friends, ಸಾಗರ್ ಮಾತಾ ನ್ಯಾಷನಲ್ ಪಾರ್ಕ್ is a national park in the Himalayas of eastern Nepal, and the area of this national park is 1148 kilometers. Then it is in the district of Solukhumbu district, and Sagarmatha National Park ranges from 2848 meters to 8848 meters. Please remember all these points, friends. Our next question is, how many seismograph stations are needed to locate the epicenter of an earthquake? Option A 1, option B 2, option C 3, option D 4. Friends, scientists need 3 seismic stations to locate the epicenter of an earthquake. ಭೂಕಂಪದ ಕೇಂದ್ರ ಬಿಂದುವನ್ನು ಕಂಡುಹಿಡಿಯಲು ಎಷ್ಟು ಭೂಕಂಪನ ಕೇಂದ್ರಗಳು ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತವೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ 3 ಭೂಕಂಪನ ಕೇಂದ್ರಗಳು. And friends, to locate the epicenter of an earthquake, scientists must have seismograms from at least 3 seismic stations, and there are 3 steps are there. In steps 1, scientists find the difference between the arrival times of the primary and the secondary waves at each of the 3 stations. In second step, the time difference is used to determine the distance of the epicenter from each station. The greater the difference in time, the farther away the epicenter is. Please remember this. This may be asked in the upcoming examination. The greater the difference in time, the farther away the epicenter is. And in third step, a circle is drawn around each station which a radius corresponding to the epicenter's distance from the station. The point where 3 circles meet is the epicenter. Please remember this. The point where 3 circles meet is the epicenter. Okay friends, let us go to the next question. The term used in context of landslides, or basically the downslope movement of materials under the influence of gravity, is option A mass wasting, option B mass trekking, option C mass transfer, option D none of the above. Friends, the downward movement of materials due to gravity force is known as the mass wasting. ಓಕೆ, ಭೂ ಕುಸಿತದ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಬಳಸುವ ಪದ ಮತ್ತು ಮೂಲತಃ ಗುರುತ್ವಾಕರ್ಷಣೆಯ ಪ್ರಭಾವದ ಅಡಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ವಸ್ತುಗಳ ಇಳಿಜಾರು ಚಲನೆಯನ್ನು ನಾವು ಏನಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ? ಮಾಸ್ ವೇಸ್ಟಿಂಗ್. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಲೇಷನ್ ಅಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಸರಿಯಾಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ ನಂಗೆ ಅನಿಸ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ಸ್ ಪ್ಲೀಸ್ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಇದನ್ನು ಇಂಗ್ಲೀಷ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ನೆನಪಿಡಿ. ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಏನಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ, ಮಾಸ್ ವೇಸ್ಟಿಂಗ್. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ಸ್ ಮಾಸ್ ವೇಸ್ಟಿಂಗ್ is also known as the downward movement of materials or slope movement. It is the geomorphic process. Please remember, it is the geomorphic process by which soil, sand, rock move downward slope. Typically has a solid, continuous or discontinuous mass, largely under the process of gravity. And there are various types of mass wastings are there. Creep, slides, here you can read creep, slides, flows, topples and falls. Please remember these types. Then mass wasting occurs on both terrestrial and submarine slopes, and it has been observed on Earth, Venus, Mars and also Jupiter's moon too. Please remember all these information. Our next question is, the Tehri Dam is located in option A Gujarat, option B Madhya Pradesh, option C Uttarakhand, option D Uttar Pradesh. Tehri Dam is located in Gujarat, so option A is the correct answer. Sorry, option C Uttarakhand. So where is Tehri Dam is located? In Uttarakhand. So please remember this. ತೆಹ್ರಿ ಡ್ಯಾಮ್ ಅಣೆಕಟ್ಟು ಎಲ್ಲಿದೆ? ಅದು ಉತ್ತರಾಖಂಡದಲ್ಲಿದೆ. Okay friends, the answer is not Gujarat. The correct answer is Uttarakhand. Tehri Dam is located in Uttarakhand. Okay friends, the Tehri Dam, it is the highest dam in India and also one of the highest dam in world also, and it is on Bhagirathi river. Please remember friends, Tehri Dam is on Bhagirathi river near Tehri in Uttarakhand. And it was the first phase of Tehri Dam was completed in the year of 2006. And here friends, 1000 megawatt of hydroelectricity will be generated here. Please remember, ಇಲ್ಲಿ 1000 ಮೆಗಾವ್ಯಾಟ್ನಷ್ಟು ಹೈಡ್ರೋ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಿಸಿಟಿಯನ್ನು ಜನರೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಲಾಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಫೇಸ್ ಯಾವಾಗ ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಆಯಿತು? 2006ನಲ್ಲಿ. ಇದು ಭಾಗೀರಥಿ ರಿವರ್ ಮೇಲಿದೆ. Okay friends, let us see the next. Following authorities is not empowered to bring a university into existence. Okay friends, which of the following authorities is not having power to bring a university into existence? Okay, options are option A state government, option B central government, option C UGC, option D none of the above. Here friends, the correct answer is option C UGC. Okay, option C UGC. Okay, UGC is not empowered to bring a university into existence. ವಿಶ್ವವಿದ್ಯಾನಿಲಯವನ್ನು ಅಸ್ತಿತ್ವಕ್ಕೆ ತರಲು ಈ ಕೆಳಗಿನ ಯಾವ ಅಧಿಕಾರಿಗಳಿಗೆ ಅಧಿಕಾರವಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಸರಿಯಾದ ಉತ್ತರ ಇಲ್ಲಿ UGC. Okay friends, we'll see some more information related to UGC. UGC stands for University Grant Commission. Okay, it is a statutory body. Please remember friends, UGC is a statutory body set up by the government of India in accordance to the UGC Act 1956 under the MHRD, Ministry of Human Resource Development. And where is the headquarters of UGC? It is located in New Delhi. And what are the objectives of the UGC's? Objectives are coordination, determination, maintenance of standards of university education. Okay, UGC, it provides recognition to universities, recognition to the universities, and also grants funds to such recognized universities and college. I hope you got all these points. So let us go to the next question. Which of the following core values among the institutions of higher education are promoted by the NAC? Okay, which of the following core values among the institutions of higher education are promoted by the NAC? NAC stands for National Assessment and Accreditation Council. Okay, A, contributing to national development. B, fostering global competencies amongst the students. Yes, it is right. C, inculcating a value system among students and teachers. Option D, promoting the optimum utilization of the infrastructure. Okay, NAC, we all know, fostering global competencies among the students, it is right. Then inculcating a value system among the students and teachers, this is also right. So friends, here the correct answer is option B, A, B and C. Okay, A, B, contributing to national development, this is also correct. And promoting the optimum utilization of the infrastructure, this will not come under the NAC. Okay, so option B, A, B, C are the correct answers. So let us go to the next question. The South Asian University is located at option A, New Delhi, option B, Jaipur, option C, Kathmandu, option D, Islamabad. Friends, where is South Asian University is located? It is located in New Delhi. Okay, Dakshina Asia Vishwavidyalaya ಎಲ್ಲಿದೆ? ನವದೆಹಲಿಯಲ್ಲಿದೆ. Okay friends, here you can see the picture of South Asian University. Okay, it is an international university sponsored by 8 member states. Okay, remember this. It is South Asian University is sponsored by 8 member states of South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation, SARC. Okay, the 8 countries are Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Maldives, Nepal, Pakistan and Sri Lanka. Okay, it is located in New Delhi. Okay, I hope you understood all these points. Okay, let us go to the next question. Which of the following satellite channel was launched on 26 January 2003 for the spread of technical growth and development of distance education in India? Okay, which of the following satellite was launched in the year of 2003 for the spreading of technical growth and development of distance education in India? Options are option A, Ekalavya, option B, Dronacharya, option C, Jnana Darshana, option D, Jnana Vani. Friends, here the correct answer is option A, Ekalavya is the correct answer. Ekalavya promotes technical knowledge. ಓಕೆ, ಭಾರತದಲ್ಲಿ ತಾಂತ್ರಿಕ ಅಭಿವೃದ್ಧಿ ಮತ್ತು ದೂರ ಶಿಕ್ಷಣದ ಅಭಿವೃದ್ಧಿಗಾಗಿ ಈ ಕೆಳಗಿನ ಯಾವ ಉಪಗ್ರಹ ಚಾನಲ್ ಅನ್ನು ಜನವರಿ 26, 2003 ಪ್ರಾರಂಭಿಸಲಾಯಿತು? ಸರಿಯಾದ ಉತ್ತರ ಏಕಲವ್ಯ ಎಜುಕೇಶನ್ ಚಾನಲ್. Okay friends, Ekalavya Technological Channel, it is a distance learning joint initiative between, remember this, it is a joint initiative between IIT and IGNOU. Okay, and it was inaugurated by Professor Murli Manohar Joshi, Honorable Minister HRD and S&T and Ocean Development on 26 January 2003. Okay, it was inaugurated by the Murli Manohar Joshi and Ocean Development on 26 January 2003. Okay, the main objective of Ekalavya Technology Channel is to bring the audience the actual IIT classrooms virtually at their doorsteps, and it is a channel dedicated to technical education. Please remember this point. Ekalavya technology channel, it is dedicated to technical education, and it is running the programs generated at different IITs. Then currently 8 complete courses are being run in parallel, contributed by IIT Delhi, IIT Kharagpur and IIT Madras. Okay friends, please remember all these points for your upcoming KSET examination. So we will see the next question. For removal of which of the following dignitaries Parliament's regulation is not needed? Okay, to remove the following dignitaries, Parliament resolution is not needed. Option A, Judge of Supreme Court. Option B, Controller and Auditor General. Option C, Chief Election Commissioner. Option D, Government of a state. Friends, here the correct answer is option A, Judge of Supreme Court. For removal of Judge of Supreme Court, Parliament's regulation is not needed. ಈ ಕೆಳಗಿನ ಯಾವ ಗಣ್ಯರನ್ನು ತೆಗೆದುಹಾಕಲು ಸಂಸತ್ತಿನ ನಿರ್ಣಯ ಅಗತ್ಯವಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಸರ್ವೋಚ್ಚ ನ್ಯಾಯಾಲಯದ ನ್ಯಾಯಾಧೀಶರು. Okay friends, Parliament's regulation is not needed to remove the judge of the Supreme Court because the judges of the Supreme Court have security of tenure and they cannot be removed from office except by an order of the President. Please remember this, they can't be removed except an order of President. I hope you got all these points. So let us move to the next question. Which of the following factors are responsible for the increase of the role of the government in developing countries? Okay, option A, economic planning. Option B, rising expectation of people. Option C, privatization. Option D, emergence of the concept of welfare state. Friends, which is the right answer here? Correct answer is option A and D. Economic planning is the correct answer. Then emergence of the concept of welfare of state is also correct. In analog computer, okay, in analog computer, option A, input is first converted to digital form. Option B, input is never converted to digital form. Option C, output is displayed in digital form. Option D, all of the above. Friends, here the right answer is option B, input is never converted to the digital form. ಅನಲಾಗ್ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಎಂದಿಗೂ ಇನ್ಪುಟ್ ಅನ್ನ ಡಿಜಿಟಲ್ ರೂಪಕ್ಕೆ ಪರಿವರ್ತಿಸಲಾಗುವುದಿಲ್ಲ. ಓಕೆ ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ಸ್, ಇನ್ ಮೈ ಪ್ರೀವಿಯಸ್ ವಿಡಿಯೋ ಆಫ್ ICT I discussed about analog computer. Okay, analog computers. So I don't discuss here. Let us go to the next question. Microprocessors has switching devices. Okay, microprocessors has switching devices are for which generation computers? Option A, first generation. Option B, second generation. Option C, third generation. Option D, fourth generation. I hope you all know the answer. It is fourth generation. Okay, ಸ್ವಿಚಿಂಗ್ ಸಾಧನಗಳಾಗಿ ಮೈಕ್ರೋ ಪ್ರೊಸೆಸರ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಯಾವ ಪೀಳಿಗೆಯ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಬಳಸ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಫೋರ್ತ್ ಜನರೇಷನ್ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್. ಓಕೆ, ಉದಾಹರಣೆಗೆ ಮೊಬೈಲ್ಸ್. ಓಕೆ, then microprocessors are used in the computers of fourth generation. Please remember this friends. In one of my ICT videos I discussed about all the four generations. Please go through that video. Okay, then personal computers were possible due to the microprocessors. Okay, remember this line also. personal microcomputers were possible due to the microprocessors. Microprocessors further revolutionized the development of computers. The first microprocessor called Intel 4004. Please remember this. The first microprocessor is Intel 4004 was developed by American Intel Corporation in 1971. ಓಕೆ ಮೈಕ್ರೋಪ್ರೊಸೆಸರನ್ನು ಒಂದು ನಾವು 4ನೇ ಪೀಳಿಗೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಇದು 1970 ಅದೇ ರೀತಿ ಮೊದಲನೇ ಪ್ರೊಸೆಸರನ್ನು ಇಂಟೆಲ್ 4004 ಇದನ್ನು ಡೆವಲಪ್ ಮಾಡಿದವರು ಅಮೆರಿಕನ್ ಇಂಟೆಲ್ ಕಾರ್ಪೊರೇಷನ್ ಇನ್ 1971. ಓಕೆ ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ಸ್, ಇಲ್ಲಿರೋ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳನ್ನು ಕನ್ನಡಕ್ಕೆ ಗೂಗಲ್ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಲೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಅನುವಾದ ಮಾಡಿ ನಾನು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಪ್ರಯತ್ನವನ್ನು ಪಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ, ನೀವೆಲ್ಲ ರಿಕ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದಂತೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಗಿವ್ ಯುವರ್ ಮೋರ್ ಸಜೆಷನ್ಸ್ ಟು ಮೀ. Okay, let us move to the next question. ALU of a computer normally contains a number of high-speed storage elements. These elements are called option A semiconductor memory, option B registers, option C hard disk, option D magnetic disk. Okay, ALU arithmetic logic unit of a computer, it contains a number of high speed storage elements. These elements are known as the registers. Okay, so option B registers is the right answer. ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ನ ALU ಸಾಮಾನ್ಯವಾಗಿ ಹಲವಾರು ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ವೇಗದ ಶೇಖರಣಾ ಅಂಶಗಳನ್ನು ಹೊಂದಿರುತ್ತದೆ. ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು ಏನಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ? ರೆಜಿಸ್ಟರ್ಗಳು. Okay friends, I hope you got this. Okay, here you can see some more information related to register. The ALU of a computer normally contains a number of high speed storage elements called registers. Okay, then the processor register or CPU register is one of a small set of data holding places that are part of the computer processor. Okay, register is the part of computer processor and it holds a small set of data holding places, okay, that are part of computer processor. And also friends, a register may hold instruction, a storage address or any kind of data. Okay, register can store any instruction, storage address or any kind of data. And there are various types of registers are there. For example, you can see here AC, accumulator, data register, DR, address register, AR, then program counter, PCE, memory data register, MDR, index register, IR, memory buffer register, MBR. These are the various types of registers. Okay, please remember this also, and you can please remember these abbreviations: AC accumulator, DR data register, AR address register, PC program counter, MDR memory data register, IR index register, then MBR memory buffer register. Okay friends, I hope you will remember all these points. Now let us go to the next question. EBCDIC, okay, EBCDIC can code up to how many different characters? Option A 256, option B 16, option C 32, option D 64. Friends, the right answer is option A 256. EBCDIC ಎಷ್ಟು ವಿಭಿನ್ನ ಅಕ್ಷರಗಳನ್ನು ಕೋಡ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ 256 256. What do you mean by EBCDIC? We will see in the next slide. Okay friends, EBCDIC can code up to 256 characters and EBCDIC stands for Extended Binary Coded Decimal Interchange Code. Please remember this friends. EBCDIC stands for Extended Binary Coded Decimal Interchange Code. It is a binary code for alphabetic and numeric characters that IBM developed for its larger operating system. Okay, EBCDIC is a binary code for alphabetic and numeric characters. It is developed by the IBM. For what purpose? For larger operating systems. Okay, developed for larger operating systems. Then the main consequence of that difference is the number of characters that can be accommodated with each one. Okay, EBCDIC can accommodate up to 28 characters for a total 256 different characters. Okay, please remember all these points. Okay, here you have to remember the abbreviation of EBCDIC, and it can code up to 256 different characters. Okay, these two are important points here, and also it is developed by the IBM. Okay, let us go to the next question. In comparison to secondary storage, primary storage is option A slower and lesser expensive, option B faster and more expensive, option C faster and lesser expensive, option D slower and more expensive. Friends, the right answer for this question is option B. Secondary storage are faster and more expensive in comparison to secondary storage. Sorry, primary storage is, okay, primary storage is faster and more expensive. Okay, comparing to the ಸೆಕೆಂಡರಿ ಸ್ಟೋರೇಜ್. ಓಕೆ, ದ್ವಿತೀಯ ಶೇಖರಣೆಗೆ ಹೋಲಿಸಿದರೆ ಪ್ರಾಥಮಿಕ ಸಂಗ್ರಹಣೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಪ್ರೈಮರಿ ಸ್ಟೋರೇಜ್ ರ್ಯಾಮ್ ಅಂತೀವಲ್ಲ, ಓಕೆ, ಇದು ಫಾಸ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿರ್ತದೆ, ಅದೇ ರೀತಿ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆನ್ಸಿವ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ದುಬಾರಿ ಕೂಡ ಆಗಿರ್ತದೆ. ವೇಗವಾಗಿ ಕಾರ್ಯ ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ, ಆದರೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ದುಬಾರಿ ಆಗಿರ್ತದೆ. ಸೆಕೆಂಡರಿ ಸ್ಟೋರೇಜ್ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಪೆನ್ ಡ್ರೈವ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, CD ಡ್ರೈವ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಇವೆಲ್ಲ. Okay, secondary memory, this type of memory is also known as external memory. Please remember friends, secondary memory is also known as the external memory, and it is also non-volatile. Okay, we can store the data for permanently. Okay, it is slower, secondary storage is slower than the main memory. Okay, secondary memory are mainly used to store the data permanently. ಓಕೆ, ಸೆಕೆಂಡರಿ ಮೆಮರಿ ಇದು ನಾನ್ ವಾಲಟೈಲ್ ಆಗಿರ್ತದೆ, ಮತ್ತೆ ಇದನ್ನ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟರ್ನಲ್ ಮೆಮರಿ ಅಂತಾನು ಕೂಡ ನಾವು ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಇದು ಮೇನ್ ಮೆಮರಿಗಿಂತ ರ್ಯಾಮ್ಗಿಂತ ತುಂಬಾ ಸ್ಲೋ ಇರ್ತದೆ. ಈ ಮೆಮರಿಗಳನ್ನ ಸೆಕೆಂಡರಿ ಮೆಮರಿಯನ್ನು ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ನಾವು ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಶನ್ ಅನ್ನ ಪರ್ಮನೆಂಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಸೇವ್ ಮಾಡಲು ಬಳಕೆ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಐ ಹೋಪ್ ಯು ಗಾಟ್ ದಿಸ್. ಲೆಟ್ ಅಸ್ ಮೂವ್ ಟು ದಿ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಕ್ವಶನ್. Regarding a VDU, which statement is more correct? Option A, it is an output device. Option B, it is an input device. Option C, it is a peripheral device. Option D, it is a hardware item. Okay, regarding VDU, the right answer is it is a peripheral device. Okay. ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ಸ್, ವಿಡಿಯೋ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಯಾವ ಹೇಳಿಕೆ ಸರಿಯಾಗಿದೆ? ವಿಡಿಯೋ ಎಂಬುದು ಒಂದು ಪೆರಿಪೆರಲ್ ಸಾಧನವಾಗಿದೆ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬಾಹ್ಯ ಸಾಧನ ಅಂತ ಬಂದಿದೆ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಲೇಟ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ. ಇದು ಎಷ್ಟು ಸರಿಯಾಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ನೋಡಿ. ಅದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಮೊದಲು ನಾವೇನು ಮಾಡೋಣ, ಇದನ್ನು ಪೆರಿಪೆರಲ್ ಡಿವೈಸ್ ಅಂತ ಬಳಕೆ ಮಾಡೋಣ. ಓಕೆ, ವಿಡಿಯೋ ಎಂಬುದು ಒಂದು ಪೆರಿಪೆರಲ್ ಡಿವೈಸ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಪೆರಿಪೆರಲ್ ಡಿವೈಸಸ್ ಆರ್ ದ ಸಚ್ ಡಿವೈಸಸ್ ವಿಚ್ ವಿಲ್ ಕನೆಕ್ಟ್ ಟು ದಿ computers or laptops. Okay, I will discuss in the next slide. Okay, regarding video, it is a peripheral device. Okay, please remember a video stands for, okay, video displays. Okay, what video will do? Video will displays images generated by a computer or other electronic ಡಿವೈಸ್. ವಿಡಿಯೋ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ, ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಜನರೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ ಇಮೇಜಸ್ಗಳನ್ನು ನಮಗೆ ತೋರಿಸ್ತದೆ. ಇಟ್ ಡಿಸ್ಪ್ಲೇಸ್ ಇಮೇಜಸ್ ವಿಚ್ ಆರ್ ಜನರೇಟೆಡ್ ಬೈ ದಿ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ ಆರ್ ಎನಿ ಅದರ್ electronic devices. Okay, and the term video is often used synonymously with monitor also, but it can also refer to another type of display such as display digital projector. Okay, the term video synonymously you can say monitor, but it is different. Okay, we can say it is another type of display. For example, digital projector. Okay, and video, it stands for visual display units. Okay, please remember this abbreviation. Video stands for visual display units. Okay, may be a peripheral device or may be integrated with the other components. Okay, now we'll see about peripheral device. What do you mean by peripheral device? Peripheral device is generally defined as an auxiliary device, okay, such as a computer, mouse, keyboard, okay, then whatever devices we connect to the computers, these are known as the peripheral devices. Okay, mouse, keyboard. Okay, other examples are like card, expansion cards, graphics cards, image scanners, tape drivers, microphones, okay, loudspeakers, webcams, digital cameras. Okay, these are the examples for peripheral device. Okay, the devices which are used to connect to the computer. Okay, this microphone I have connected to the laptop. Okay, then loudspeakers, webcams, keyboards, mouse. Okay, these are all known as the peripheral devices. Okay, let us move to the next question. Which of the following is a way to access secondary memory? Option A, random access memory. Option B, action method. Option C, transfer method. Option D, density method. Which of the following is a way to access the secondary memory? Right answer is random access memory. Okay, we access secondary memory through the RAM only. ಈ ಕೆಳಗಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಸೆಕೆಂಡರಿ ಮೆಮೊರಿಯನ್ನ ಪ್ರವೇಶಿಸುವ ಮಾರ್ಗ ಯಾವುದು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ RAM. Okay, RAM stands for random access memory. Okay, it is the internal memory of the CPU. Okay, it stores data, programs and results, but only for temporarily. Okay, it is a read or write memory. Please remember friends, it is read or write memory which stores data until the machine is working. Once the computer switches off or when we turns off the computer, the data will be lost. Okay, RAM is volatile. Okay, volatile means when computer turns off, the whatever data is saved in the RAM, it will be erased. Oh, so RAM is volatile. Okay, and RAM is small both in terms its physical size and in the amount of data it can hold. Okay, and there are two types of RAM are there. One is SRAM, static RAM. Another one is DRAM, dynamic RAM. Please remember these two types of RAM. One is static RAM, SRAM. Another one is dynamic RAM, DRAM. Okay friends, let us go to the next question. Which of the following statements is correct? ಈ ಕೆಳಗಿನ ಯಾವುದು ಹೇಳಿಕೆ ಸರಿಯಾಗಿದೆ? Option A, here the statements are related to virus. Okay, computer virus improves the speed of processing information through the computer. We can say this sentence is wrong. Okay, virus does not improve the speed of the computer. Okay, then the internet does not allow a virus to spread. No, the internet will allow the virus to spread. We can say this is also wrong. Then virus is a part of software. Option D, virus is an operating system. No, virus is not an operating system. So the right answer is virus is a part of software. Okay, ವೈರಸ್ ಎಂಬುದು ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ ಮೂಲಕ ಮಾಹಿತಿಯನ್ನು ಸಂಸ್ಕರಿಸುವ ವೇಗವನ್ನು ಸುಧಾರಿಸುತ್ತದೆ. ಇಲ್ಲ, ಅದೇ ರೀತಿ ವೈರಸ್ ಹರಡಲು ಇಂಟರ್ನೆಟ್ ಅನುಮತಿಸುವುದಿಲ್ಲ. ಇದು ಕೂಡ ತಪ್ಪು. ವೈರಸ್ ಒಂದು ಆಪರೇಟಿಂಗ್ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಇದು ಕೂಡ ತಪ್ಪು. ಆದ್ರಿಂದ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಸರಿಯಾದ ಉತ್ತರ ಯಾವುದು? ವೈರಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಎ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್. ವೈರಸ್ ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್ ನ ಒಂದು ಭಾಗವಾಗಿದೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಲೆಟ್ ಅಸ್ ಗೋ ಟು ದಿ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಕ್ವಶನ್. ಪ್ಲೀಸ್ ರಿಮೆಂಬರ್ ದಿಸ್. Virus is a part of software. This question may arise. Okay, let us go to the next question. Okay, then here some more information is there related to virus. A computer virus is a type of computer program that when executed replicates itself, modifying other computer programs and insert its own code. What virus will do? When virus enters the computer, okay, it executes or replicates itself by modifying other computer programs. It will modify the other computer programs and it will insert its own code. Then we can say the affected areas are then said to be infected by computer virus. Okay, please remember this. Here you have to remember virus is a part of software. Okay, let us go to the next question. An error in software or hardware is called a bug. Okay, an error in software or hardware is called a bug. What is the alternative computer jargon for it? Option A, leech. Option B, squid. Option C, slug. Option D, glitch. Okay, the right answer here is option D, glitch. Okay, an error in software or hardware is known as the bug and the alternative computer jargon for it is glitch. Okay, ಸಾಫ್ಟ್ವೇರ್ ಅಥವಾ ಹಾರ್ಡ್ವೇರ್ನಲ್ಲಿನ ದೋಷ ಎಂದು ಕರೆಯುತ್ತೇವೆ. ಇದಕ್ಕಾಗಿ ಪರ್ಯಾಯ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ನ ಭಾಷೆ ಯಾವುದಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಅದು ಗ್ಲಿಚ್. ಓಕೆ, ಇದನ್ನ ನೀವು ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ನೆನಪಿಡಬೇಕು. ಓಕೆ, an error in software or hardware is called a bug, then glitch is an alternative computer jargon for it. Okay, please remember this. Let us go to the next question. Okay, an application program that helps the user to change any number and immediately see the result of the change is an application program that helps the user to change any number and immediately see the result of that change is known as option A, desktop publishing program. Option B, database. Option C, spreadsheet. Option D, all of the above. Friends, the right answer is option C, spreadsheet. Okay, ಯಾವುದೇ ಸಂಖ್ಯೆಯನ್ನು ಬದಲಿಸಲು ಮತ್ತು ಬದಲಾವಣೆಯ ಫಲಿತಾಂಶವನ್ನು ತಕ್ಷಣ ನೋಡಲು ಬಳಕೆದಾರರಿಗೆ ಸಹಾಯ ಮಾಡುವ ಅಪ್ಲಿಕೇಶನ್ ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಅನ್ನು ನಾವು ಏನಂತ ಕರೀತೀವಿ. Okay friends, thank you very much. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you all will enroll for our mock test series. Okay, then to get more videos, to enroll for our mock tests, you can contact to the given number. ನಮ್ಮ ಎಲ್ಲ mock testಗಳಿಗೆ ನೀವು ಸೇರಿಕೊಳ್ಳಲು ಮತ್ತು ಇದೇ ರೀತಿ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ವಿಡಿಯೋಗಳನ್ನು ನೀವು ಪಡೆಯಲು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೀಡುವ ನಂಬರ್ಗೆ ನೀವು ಕಾಂಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು. ಮತ್ತು ನಮ್ಮ ಗ್ಲೋಬಲ್ ಆನ್ಲೈನ್ ಯೂನಿವರ್ಸಿಟಿ ವೆಬ್ಸೈಟ್ಗೆ ನೀವು ಸಬ್ಸ್ಕ್ರೈಬ್ ಕೂಡ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಬಹುದು.